Good morning everyone. This is Kailin Kamikawa. This time, Japanese Prime Minister Suga will be on the 13th. More than 1 million ton of treated water from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station, which was damaged by the Great East Japan earthquake. In the case of announcing that the government officially decided to release it to the sea, let's see what kind of reports countries other than China and South Korea have reported. In the first place, what Japanese people and fishermen are most worried about is it is neither radioactivity nor distrust of the government. The only thing the Japanese are afraid of is rumor damage. China, North Korea, and South Korea are planning to despise Japan with this in mind. China and North Korea are politically enemy nations. It's still understandable to try to despise Japan just here and there. Regarding South Korea, I may be wondering whether it is an enemy or an ally. This time, it became clear. They are an unmistakable enemy country for Japan. Moreover, only when it is convenient, I sneak up on Japan if Japan shows a chance. It is a traitor who turns behind and beats Japan. Half-baked I'm in Japan, so I can't keep up with it. I think we have to change the way we interact with them. And in order to make them understand, I think it is necessary to impose strong sanctions on profits. Furthermore, when it comes to who is spreading the damage caused by rumors, undoubtedly, it's Mascomi. They make things bigger by making a fuss about what isn't there in order to earn viewership. Moreover, attacking the opponent without any grounds. Furthermore, I will sneak into the masses with a sense of justice. In the first place, the media should keep in mind the neutral reporting. I repeat the biased coverage so much that I think, isn't the thread pulled from the back? Even now, you can see that the false accusation troublemaker is the mass trash. This time, let's wear such colored glasses and see the news again. It is from Singapore's news broadcasting station called CNA, Channel News Asia.
Japan's decision to release treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific Ocean has stirred fierce controversy. The International Atomic Energy Agency and the United States supports the move, saying it's in line with globally accepted nuclear safety standards. But local fishermen, residents, and international consumers are concerned.
The amount of treated radioactive water that Japan will release into the sea would fill 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That massive amount of water has been accumulating in tanks at the Fukushima nuclear facility since an earthquake and a tsunami damaged its reactors in 2011. It includes water used to cool the plant, as well as rain and groundwater that seeps in daily. But space is now running out. The water will first be processed to remove almost all harmful elements and will be diluted before it's released into the sea. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga says it's unavoidable in order to complete the decades-long process of decommissioning the nuclear plant. But it's an option fiercely opposed by local fishermen and residents. Protesters have gathered outside the Prime Minister's office, urging him to reverse the decision. Environmental groups say radioactive materials can remain in the water and be easily concentrated in the food chain. They allege accumulated doses over time could even damage DNA.
私は突然というふうに感じています。今まで私たちの反対の声をたくさん届けていたので、それがもっともっと届けていかないとダメなんだなって思いましたけど、とにかく海洋放出されないように願って私たちももっともっと声を上げていきたいと思いますし、国外の方もよろしく応援をお願いしたいです。流してほしくないって思っている人たちがこんなにいるのだっていうことを伝えてほしいと思います。
Japan's fishery industry also worry that the move will wipe out years of work to convince consumers that Fukushima's seafood is safe, and they appear to have a reason to worry.
저는 한국산을 위주로 먼저 선택을 하고 있어요. 그렇죠. 일본이 이제 우리나라 우리나라까지 이제 영향을 줄 수 있으니까 좀 많이 걱정이 되긴 합니다. 뭐 일본산뿐만 아니라 이제 바다에 뿌려지면 우리나라나 다 이게 다 문제가 생기는 거니까 조금 꺼려지지 않을까 싶어요. 정부에서는 강하게 항의를 해야 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
Work to release the water will begin in about 2 years and likely take decades to complete.
South Korea has strongly objected to Japan's decision. The foreign ministry has called in the senior Japanese envoy to express its regret. Environmental groups have vowed to take action to stop what they call an act of nuclear terror. Lee Myung-suk has more.
South Korea says Japan's announcement is strongly regretful and that it will be taking measures to protect its citizens from Japan's contaminated water.
우리 국민의 안전과 해양 환경 피해 방지를 위한 구체적인 조치를 포함할 것을 일본 정부에 강력히 요구하겠습니다. 우리 정부의 우려를 전달하고 오염수 처리 과정 전반에 대한 투명한 정보 공개와 국제적 검증 추진을 요청할 계획입니다.
Now, South Korea, which currently bans imports of seafood from that area, says the decision was unilaterally reached by Japan without any consultations with its closest neighbor, South Korea, and reiterated its earlier stance that everything must be transparent and done in a safe way in line with the international standards. The comments came after an emergency meeting with vice ministers from the Foreign and Maritime Ministries and also the Nuclear Safety and Security Commission. South Korea in the past also voiced concerns, and it has already sent a letter to the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, raising concerns over the environmental impact over the water released. North Korea, too, in the past has also criticized Japan, saying that it was a criminal act and that it would not tolerate contamination of its blue water by the nuclear waste. Now, despite the concerns, experts say it is possible that South Korea may be alone in this fight, as few other countries seem as concerned as South Korea over this issue. Some experts also say that although the radioactive levels from Fukushima could be higher than those from normally operating nuclear plants, South Korea and other countries also operate nuclear plants and discharge liquid into the ocean, although they are done after a filtration process to reduce the radioactive. Now, experts say this water release announcement by Japan on Tuesday could further strain ties between the two countries, which already are in dispute over historical issues. Lim Yang-suk, CNA, Seoul.
China's view is that the release of radioactive water is highly irresponsible. The decision puts a further strain on already shaky relations. Livia Xiong with more.
China's foreign ministry issued a stinging statement on Tuesday expressing grave concern over Tokyo's latest decision to discharge more than 1 million tons of contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. The ministry accused Japan of making a unilateral decision in spite of doubts and opposition from home and abroad, and before exhausting all safe ways of disposal. It also said Japan had not fully consulted neighboring countries and the international community. The move, according to Beijing, would severely affect human health and the immediate interest of people in neighboring countries. It called on Japan to re-evaluate the issue and refrain from discharging the wastewater until it has consulted and reached an agreement with all stakeholder countries and the International Atomic Energy Agency. Other countries like South Korea have spoken out against the move, but the U.S. has expressed support for Japan, saying its approach is acceptable. Hitting back at this, China's state media accused Western politicians and media of having double standards. Editor-in-chief of the Communist Party-linked Global Times, Hu Xijin, wrote in a tweet that the U.S. was the only country that could stop Japan, but instead it had gone along with the decision in exchange for Japan's closer strategic following. Now, this comes amid tense Sino-U.S. relations as Washington rallies allies like Japan to counter a rising China. China said that it would continue to follow developments in Japan closely with the international community and reserves the right to make further responses. Olivia Xiong, CNA, Beijing.
What did you think? Surprisingly, the news was that neutrality was still maintained. However, what China, South Korea, and NGOs have to say, if there is no backing or grounds, and if it drips over and over again, the viewer is swept away by the louder opinion. First of all, the treated water in Fukushima this time is by no means contaminated water. By repeating it as contaminated water and contaminated water many times, it aims to impress that something Japan is trying to drain something ridiculous. Fukushima's treated water removes most of the water except tritium. It is many times safer than treated water released by other countries. However, if you say that, the news value will be lost and the audience rating will not be earned. By exaggerating and reporting that it is dangerous, it's clear that you're trying to earn viewership. What was made a bad guy is not a collection. Furthermore, the arguments of China, North Korea, and South Korea are spilled over. The Japanese also manipulated the impression as if the general public was against this matter. The media, along with the common people, is in a position like a messenger of justice against those in power. That's why it's also called information warfare in the modern world. Public opinion is swept away and rumor damage is spread by such mass trash. I think the viewer must decide what is right and what to do. In that sense, having YouTube as a modern salvation, even that is dominated by Google, you have to be careful. Lie like exhaling, the Japanese, and people all over the world, should never forget this word. Don't be fooled by Korean lies. That's all.